This week we saw the world's tallest golden batter, the single game trick play record absolutely demolished at 31 trick plays, and so much more at this series in Grayson Stadium. And to top it all off, they had a trick play bracket that we'll talk about a little bit more in this episode.
The Party Animals crushed it with the bracket challenge, but sadly they came a little bit short in the games overall.
And we'll discuss all of this and more in this week's Banana Breakdown.
Let's get into it.
Perfect. Well, up first, we've got the series breakdown. We'll quickly break down all 3 games, and then we'll jump into some other things, talking about some crazy ball 4 sprints, talking about that trick play bracket, talking about that world's tallest golden batter, and so much more with this week. You're definitely going to want to hang around for the end of the episode.
For sure. So starting off, game 1, I was feeling great about the series. Started off really great. The Party Animals were on fire. They hit 3 home runs in the first 3 innings. Reese Hampton, Chase Acuff, and Dustin Baber each hit a home run, and the Party Animals won the first 3 innings. It was a hot start, and they ended up going up 5-2 to start the 9th inning.
Yeah, and then in the 9th inning, the Bananas showed up, and they scored with 2 outs in the 9th inning. They scored 2 runs, getting it 5-4, and then they had a runner on base, and unfortunately could not take it home. So the Party Animals won game number 1 of the series.
It was a great finish, but sadly it all went downhill from there for me and my favorite team.
Well, let's talk about that, because it was a really, really good last 2 games of the series.
Yeah, I would rather not talk about it. Before we get into that, I just want to say thank you to the Party Animals for complimenting my outfit. In the last video, you commented saying that you loved my fit. Thanks. I really appreciate that. It's not easy to look this good. So I just wanted to say thank you for noticing. I really put a lot of thought and effort into this,
Yeah, and we do read every comment, and we love the engagement that we're seeing there, especially that comment had us cracking up. So.
Yeah, that was hilarious. I was shocked by that.
But getting into game 2, in the first 6 innings, the Bananas were up 5-0. Absolutely crazy start for them, and by the 9th inning, they were up 6-1.
It was not good. The Party Animals scored 2 runs to end the game, 6-3. They fought back, they tried their best, but ultimately fell short. It was a good game for the Bananas. Not so great if you're wearing black and pink.
Yeah, and a quick call out on a big piece of what happened there was there were 10 strikeouts for the Party Animals this game, and 9 of them, we have to give a shout out to Corel Prime and Gage Voorhees. They had 9 of those 10 strikeouts, just those 2 pitchers. So fantastic performance there. Definitely led the Bananas to their victory.
Yeah, the pitchers were on fire. Corel Prime, we'll get into it later, but this helped him get over everyone and become the league leader in strikeouts. And so he had a great series, great game. But yeah, it was good job by the Bananas.
Yeah, unfortunately that carried over into the next game, into game 3. So there was in every game that I've watched so far this season, the games have been pretty close. These were probably the 2 biggest blowouts I've seen. And so the Bananas, after 7 innings in game 3, they were up 5-0 again.
Yeah, I was just sitting there on my couch watching, and I was just like, this is the worst day of my life. Just kidding. It was still fun to watch. It was not the worst day of my life. No, I was shocked. I really, especially after the first game, their bats were on fire. They were hitting everything, and then the next 2 games, it looked like they're a little more focused on the bracket challenge and less on actually playing. It was a really great showing by the Bananas. I really don't want to take anything away from them. I know that the Party Animals are trying their best.
Yeah, and the Party Animals, the cool thing was to watch is that it wasn't that they scored 0 every inning and the Bananas were just getting 1 run. They were getting points, and then the Bananas were just coming and just one-upping them, just getting a little bit more over the hump.
Just wait until the Party Animals start hosting games.
I cannot wait. That'll be so fun.
Because we've talked about it before, but the Party Animals really are at a pretty big disadvantage being the away team for most of these games. They will start to host going forward. So that'll be really interesting to see what that dynamic is. See how, see if they can pull off some more wins there. But when you know the exact amount of runs that you need to win an inning, I wouldn't say it's not easy, but it makes it simpler for the strategy, and you know exactly what you need to do, and you can make a game plan and get it done instead of hoping that you're scoring enough in the top of the inning.
Yeah, so then the 8th inning was a pretty exciting one for this game. The Party Animals scored 4 runs, and then the Bananas scored 3. Party Animals were able to squeak out a run in that inning, so they went into the 9th inning 5-1. Unfortunately for the Party Animals, no runs were scored, and so the final score of Game 3 was 5-1, and that brings the Bananas taking the series 2-1, hence the scoreboard back here. And I will say, those double digits there on the win column for the Bananas, that's looking pretty nice.
Yeah, I'm getting a little nervous. There's a 2-game lead now by the Bananas. I don't want that lead to grow much farther. I still believed until the very end. The way that Banana Ball's set up with a run counting as a point for the last inning, it still keeps you at the edge of your seat. You still believe that, all right, ultimately, they were only down 4 when it came down to it, even though it felt like they were down by a lot more.
Yeah.
And so I still believed, okay, if you could just rattle off a couple of runs here, they've been able to score 4 runs in an inning prior, like they could come back, but it just didn't happen. And now we're seeing that lead grow, and I'm getting a little nervous.
Well, that's one of the cool things that we see in this is the momentum swings, is the back and forth, and so I'm confident that the Party Animals will get right back on it and give the Bananas a run for their money. But if that didn't happen and the Bananas keep growing a lead, I would not be sad about that.
I would be. Party Animals, I know you're listening because you've complimented my outfit. I need you guys to bring some joy to my weekend here soon.
Yeah, and we'll talk more about where they're going to be playing this weekend at the end of the podcast, but it's back in another MLB stadium, so it's going to be another great weekend of Banana Ball. But for now, we wanted to break into another segment where we're talking about the ball force sprints. So a little bit of background in Banana Ball. Instead of a walk, if there's 4 balls, it's a ball force sprint. So the runner, they can take off, they can go for as many bases as they want, and every position player has to touch the ball before they can apply a tag to the runner. The reason why we wanted to talk about it today was I was watching Game 1, and there was just time after time where really interesting scenarios were coming up because of the ball force sprints that you don't see in traditional baseball. And so we kind of wanted to go through a couple of those and talk through, hey, what's the strategy here? How does this change baseball as a whole? And kind of go through some of those. So it was a pretty interesting showing there that we wanted to talk about.
Yeah, so what are some of those things that you were seeing?
Yeah, so the first one was the bases were loaded for the Party Animals, 2 outs and a 3-2 count. There was a ball force sprint, so 3 runs scored, but then Bryson Bloomer decided to not stop at first base, and he decided to go to second. Now, the scary thing is that if he gets tagged, that final run doesn't count. Because I was watching the video and the runner didn't get home until after Bryson got to second. In this scenario, fortunately, Bryson beat out the tag. He was safe. All 3 runs scored, and now he's on second. But I wanted to talk through, what's the strategy? That seemed like a really risky play there to go for second when you might risk that run scoring. But it was also a really cool play.
Yeah, it was definitely exciting, and ultimately that's what Banana Ball is all about. They're out there doing crazy things, trying to make risky plays, trying to have the benefit outweigh the risk there. But yeah, personally, if it was me and I'm just trying to win the game, I would not have done that. If I was the coach, I would tell Bloomer that was terrible base running and could have cost us an out. But that's not what's going on in the dugout there. That's why Banana Ball is so much better than baseball. The vibe is totally different. You're encouraged to do risky plays. You're encouraged to do something that's exciting. And so instead of, in other sports, a coach may be upset that a player does something that all the fans are like, holy cow, that's super cool. But the coach knows that was a terrible decision.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's what's going on in the dugout. They're too busy dancing. So.
Yeah, no, it was a really cool play. It was just an interesting moment of I don't even think that the players were thinking about it in the moment, but just as a viewer watching, I was like, oh my gosh, the runner's barely coming around third. Like, if he gets tagged, that run doesn't count. So It was just a really interesting thing to see from that moment, where the runner's probably just like, hey, I can make it, and so just booking it there. But
yeah, I think that's a moment where you really do see how these players are conditioned. Like, it's really ingrained in them that to do the riskier play, even if it's just one more run, or do a crazy trick play, even if that costs a run, and so they can't just stop. They're it's like ingrained in them that they have to do something cool, which is great for us. We get to see cool stuff all the time.
Yeah, we'll take it any day of the week.
Yeah.
So the second one was really interesting because I want to talk about why ball four sprints make it so much more exciting than a walk in this one that happened. So ball four sprint, Bill Leroy had a bit of an issue with the ball. It kind of flew out of his glove before he could grab it as he was trying to get it out to second. Then when he threw it out there, it kind of bounced off a couple players before they could get a hold of it. And so Jake Skull actually ended up getting a triple. And it was really close to possibly being an inside the park home run because of that. And that just makes it so much more interesting, where most of the time, if you watch the game, I would say probably 80% of the time or more, it's just a single. They just get to first base. But the fact that it can sometimes be more is so cool to watch.
Yeah, because we've talked about this before in previous podcasts. It's impossible to intentionally walk someone now. Like, there's no benefit to a walk anymore. Like, in baseball, there are certain scenarios where you are 100% okay with a walk.
Yeah.
But here, there's so much that could go wrong in a ball four sprint scenario. If you have runners in scoring position, you throw four balls and now runs score. If you screw up trying to get the ball to all the position players, if they take too long to run in, if you got a really fast batter, stuff like that, there's so much that can go wrong that you really do not want to have four balls. And so that's what's so exciting about all of this, is there's so much that goes into it. It's not just a stoppage and play and you take your base. There's a lot of strategy involved. There's a lot of mistakes that can happen, and that really gets you on the edge of your seat.
Yeah, it's really, really cool to see, and that's one of the things why I wanted to have this segment today, is because most of this season it's just been get to first base, but then it was just like time after time this game, really cool things happened, and so it was really fun to watch. The next couple we can kind of go through a little bit faster, but basically Chase Acuff was up to bat, and basically to avoid throwing a ball four, the pitcher, Noah Nisnik, threw it right down the middle, and Chase hit a home run. So it's kind of this interesting play where, again, it happens a little bit in baseball. You don't want to walk someone, so to avoid it, kind of have to throw a strike. And in this case, the batter took advantage and hit a home run. But then in the next one that happened, there was, this one was actually really interesting. So Coach Rat got on first and stole second, which was a really heads-up play, because now the pitcher's under pressure. The pitcher has to avoid the ball four sprint, or it's a free run. So because of that, it was a 3-2 count, and Garrett Delano had to throw a strike, and Ryan Cox ended up scoring a hit, and it got a walk-off. If he had thrown the ball, it would have been a walk-off anyway, so you have to take the risk, and that's a really cool dichotomy that happens with those ball four sprints.
Yeah, and those batters there, good job for knowing the strike count. Good, that's really good batting. It's really good to know the scenario there. And yeah, in baseball that happens where if it's a 3-0, 3-0 pitch or 3-1 pitch, you know it's coming down the middle. You know he has to get in the strike zone, and so you're ready to hit, and so the pitcher's at a disadvantage there. But I think you're right that it's even more of a disadvantage in banana ball, because like we said before, there's so much that could go wrong in a ball four sprint scenario that you're not going to take the risk of throwing out of the strike zone in that scenario that you may be okay with if it just leads to a batter going to first.
Yeah, and even with that, it does still continually happen. There were at least 2 times this weekend that there was a runner on second and a ball four sprint happened to score them. So, it's really cool to see that actually does happen, so the pitchers have to be aware of that. And the final one before we get on to the trick play bracket was they were playing the ball four sprint defense, the Party Animals. So it was a 3-2 count, and Dalton Malden was up for the Savannah Bananas. Tanner Thomas out in left field was getting closer to second base, anticipating that a ball four might happen, and they would all need to go to second base to touch the ball before they could tag out the runner. Because of that, Dalton was able to get it just right where Tanner Thomas would normally be, and it was just over his head. So another really interesting thing because of the way they have to play defense, expecting to run in, then they miss some of those balls that come out there.
Yeah, it's really cool how, Banana Ball is still young, but we're starting to already see these trends in the game. Yeah. We're starting to see how strategy is evolving over time as players are used to the rules. It's no longer so much of a novelty anymore. They're able to come up with strategies. That he was aware of where the defense was, and he knew where he needed to get the ball. So it's really cool. We'll point that stuff out as stuff that we notice here. I think we're going to see more of that, more of the strategy as players are really starting to get all of this stuff down and come up with strategies and counter punches to the different strategies too.
Yeah, and again, like we talk about in most of these podcast episodes, it's going to be so cool when the next 2 teams, the Firefighters and the Tailgaters, come into play, because they're going to play with different strategies. They're coming with different experience from their previous baseball team. So it'll be really cool to see where all of that goes and how the strategy continues to evolve when it's not just the Bananas playing the Party Animals each week.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely looking forward to that. Yeah, so now we're going to talk about the bracket challenge that Banana Ball did. They called it, I thought this name was hilarious, it's intentionally super long and a mouthful, the Banana Ball Challenge Bracket of March Madness Challenge.
Or in acronym's sake, the BBCBOMMC.
AKA the dance is what they called it. So in honor of March Madness going on right now, I'm sure some of you have been watching. Shout out the BYU Cougars for making the Sweet 16. Pretty excited about that. Anyway, in honor of March Madness, they wanted to come up with a bracket here. And I love this. They added this wrinkle to the series because it wasn't just the games that people were focusing on. It was also this tournament. And so what it was an individual tournament where 4 players from the Party Animals, 4 players from the Bananas were put into a bracket, and they tried to get the most trick plays. So they had matchups, and whoever was paired off with each other, whoever in those games, there are 3 games this weekend, so there's 3 rounds of the tournament, whoever had more trick plays in that game that corresponded with the round moved on. And the Party Animals did a great job, ended up with Dustin Baber and Chase Acuff in the championship game for that final game, the championship round, and Chase Acuff was able to win 3-1 against Dustin Baber in that game.
Yeah, and a couple of really interesting things that came from that was game number 1, there were a ton of trick plays, and they talked about it because they actually mic'd up a couple of the players as they were going through it, and they talked about how because the Party Animals all want them to advance and the Bananas want them to advance, they were going to work together. So on the teams, it was like a shortstop, second baseman, center fielder, left fielder, third base. It was like all in that kind of area. So they would say, hey, if you get a pop-up, everybody close in, we'll kind of bounce it to each other, we can all get a trick play. So you saw a little bit of that happening, especially on the Party Animals side, and that led to the single game trick play record of 31. We'll talk about that more at the end of the podcast, but absolutely incredible that we were able to see that, and that was mostly because of the bracket. And then in game 2, there there was only one trick play done by the final 4, which was really crazy if you think about it.
Yeah.
But again, as we talked about before with Karel Prime and Gage Voorhees, with those strikeouts, the Party Animals didn't get a lot of hits in play for the Bananas to field, and the Bananas had 6 walk-offs. So they cut 6 innings short, which gave less opportunities for the Party Animals to get trick plays.
Yeah, you have to wonder if they were starting to get a little nervous about the about the bracket. If no, I think it really was mainly just the strikeouts and those walk-offs that made that game in particular was so much different than previous games that we've seen. Just the whole vibe and strategy of that game was just a little weird because of the strikeouts, and so. Yeah, it was definitely a weird situation. I don't think that was intentional. I think they wanted to have a ton of trick plays with this bracket, but that's just not really what happened.
Yeah. And then, Chase Acuff won the final bracket 3-1 against Dustin Baber in the last game. It was a really good showing by the Party Animals. In the first round, 3 of them went through and only 1 of the Bananas. And then the last Banana, DR Meadows, got out to the final round being Party Animal versus Party Animal.
Yeah, and I thought this was hilarious in the final game where things weren't going great for the Party Animals, but they mic'd up Acuff and Baber. They mic'd up other players too in the previous games, but this was fun because they were going against each other, but they're also teammates, and so they're talking to each other on the field, but also talking to the announcers, and that was just a really fun moment. It went on for quite a while, and just to see what they were thinking and about everything was pretty cool. I like the transparency there with the players. You can really see like what they're thinking about, and that's really cool.
Yeah, the mic'd up moments are definitely one of my favorite things about Banana Ball, is seeing that on a consistent basis. It's so fun to have a pitcher like they're mic'd up as they're throwing the pitches, and like you get a batter mic'd up. Like it's just really cool to see.
Yeah.
Or there's like an outfielder and they're just chatting away, and then it's like, oh, the ball got hit, and they just go into game mode.
Yeah.
And it's really fun to watch. And then up next, we wanted to talk about a new rule in Banana Ball that we heard about this weekend called the Safe Harbor Rule. Now, this was really interesting for us because this rule came about from something we discussed on the podcast a couple weeks ago. If you remember back from that, basically, there were 3 balls, and the batter thought that it was a ball 4. It was called a strike. The batter left the box, which then added an additional strike and caused it to be a strikeout. Now, the same thing happened this weekend, but the announcers were talking about it as the batter came back to the box, which was surprising. And they said that the new rule is if there's ever a batter that leaves the box on what is assumed to be ball 4 for a ball 4 sprint, that the rule of adding a strike to it when they leave the batter's box will not count. So they just have to come back quickly and keep the at-bat going. But in this case, it was a 3-1 count, so it was called a strike. So now there's 2 strikes. Without this rule, that would have been strike 3.
Yeah.
But it's really cool to see that they were able to change this, and that's how it ended up turning out.
Yeah, I think this is really a testament to the innovation of Banana Ball. The fact that they changed and like came up with a new rule, the Safe Harbor Rule, during the season. That does not happen in other leagues. I was thinking about this. So I watch a lot of other sports, particularly basketball, and one of the issues in basketball is that there's certain things that they can review and certain things that they can't review, which is weird. Like why, if you go to a review monitor and you're looking at something and you can obviously see that there was an issue or something that you missed, why can't you go back? So there was this game last season. I don't remember if this rule even changed, but there was this issue last season where I think it was TCU Georgetown. I can't remember exactly the teams, but one of the players shoots a last second shot and it goes in. They win the game. They go to the review monitor to see if he got the shot off, which they're allowed to do.
Yeah.
He does get it off, but you see in the review that before he took the shot, he stepped out of bounds. But you can't change that because in the rules you can't review if someone was in bounds or not. And so it caused this huge thing. There's a lot of media members that were like, this rule is dumb, this rule needs to change. They should not have won, he stepped out of bounds. But you can't review that.
Interesting.
Another thing happened in the NCAA tournament just this week, Illinois versus Kentucky. Illinois player shoots the ball. It looks like it gets blocked. It's obvious that it goes off of him. It's Kentucky ball. This is at the very end of the game. But you look at the replay monitor. It's pretty obvious that the Kentucky player, when he jumped, his knee hit the Illinois player forearm. I don't remember the players involved, but this isn't a college basketball podcast, so it doesn't matter. But so it was obviously a foul. But you can't go back and review a foul. You can only review if this ball went off of whatever player. So all of this to say, everyone is up in arms about that. Everyone was up in arms last season about you can't review if a player went out of bounds or not.
Yeah.
You can't make a change in the middle of the season, so you just have to deal with it. And all the media members are like, that's a dumb rule. Hopefully they talk about it in the offseason and make a change. Banana ball's different. You can just change the rule. And I think fans really appreciate that. It's like, this was an unforeseen situation.
Totally.
They didn't know what to do with it. We can come back next series with a better solution, and I really appreciate that about Banana Ball.
Yeah, and I would assume that we're going to see more of that later in this season when we now have 4 teams, and even more next season with 6 teams. Because, like you said, there's unforeseen circumstances, things that don't come up, and then suddenly it happens, and it's like, what do we do here? And so they have to make the best judgment based on the current rules. But then the best thing about the Fans First Entertainment Banana Ball is we're just going to go back and we're going to say what is best for the fans. Let's make a rule, let's stick with it, but what's best for the fans? And then they make a change. And it's really cool to see that, especially. So we just wanted to call that out, especially because we had talked about that situation on the podcast a couple weeks ago, and there's a new rule here. So.
Yeah, good job, Banana Ball. They're making the game more enjoyable for everyone.
Yeah, and next up we wanted to talk about some top plays and best moments of the week. Just funny things that happened, really cool trick plays, things of that nature. One of the things, if you've watched the games at all, is the Party Animals have a donut batter of the night. And so the Bananas fans will all shout donut at him when he's batting so that they can hopefully get some donuts thrown to them in the stands if he strikes out. So Chase Acuff was the donut batter, hits a home run, and as he's going around the bases, is just taunting the fans. It was hilarious. So one of the things they do when they say donut is they go and they make a donut. It's a donut.
The Bananas are doing that, and yeah.
And so Chase is running around the bases, just staring at the fans, going like this. And it's just a really funny moment where I love that they allow the players to have fun, to be real, to be excited, and to kind of taunt each other a little bit in a playful way.
Yeah, taunting is fun. Taunting has a place in sports. That would have been a penalty in any other league. The NFL will throw a flag if you're taunting on the way to the end zone or whatever. No, yeah, I agree. I think that obviously you don't want to be rude, and he wasn't being rude. So I'm not totally against unsportsmanlike penalties, but in this situation, it was just hilarious.
Yeah. Another one that I wanted to call out was Drew Gillespie tried again to get the strikeout from second base. It was really interesting because he throws the ball, and you see the catcher catch it, and Drew just bolts for the dugout, just super excited running, and then he stops, and he's like, what? That was a ball? He thought it was strike 3. He was so excited, but the catcher or the umpire called it a ball. He had to go back, try again. Didn't work. End up going to the mound and getting a strikeout. But just really interesting of just like how excited he is. He's so ready to get that strikeout from second base.
I think we're all ready to see it.
Yes.
It's they've been trying. Many different pitchers have been trying. I was ready to see it. I was bummed, but yeah.
Yes, I know from the Bananas side, Cowboy Kyle, I've seen you try it before. Please beat Drew Gillespie to it. Drew Gillespie is a fantastic pitcher, and if you give him too much more time, it's going to happen. So Kyle, come on.
Drew Gillespie is the best pitcher in the league. No offense, Cowboy Kyle, but it's true. Everyone knows it. Brandon here knows it. So he's going to beat you to it.
Come on, Cowboy Kyle. We got this. And then another really cool play from game number 1 that's been going crazy on social media was Danny Hosley, the pitcher for the Bananas. There's a ground ball hit at him. He just nonchalantly catches behind the back, throws it to second. Jackson Olsen at second base catches it under the legs to first. Like, just absolutely crazy. So they got a double play on that with the pitcher just catching it behind the back. Like, it was a really cool play.
Yeah, that got some momentum online because that perfectly sums up Banana Ball.
Yeah.
It's just crazy how natural the trick plays are.
Yeah.
They don't even have to think about it anymore. It's just what they do. It's awesome.
Yeah. And then another moment for the pitchers that was actually a little bit scary, but it ended up working out fine, was Nate Tellier from the Party Animals had a line drive right for his head. And we'll put the video on right now, but he dodges it, catches it, and slams onto the mound. And a bunch of people were commenting that were there at the stadium that, like, it was a pretty, like, scary moment for everyone, where they're, like, pausing for a second, like, is he okay? Like, some of the other Party Animals were running to see.
Yeah.
But he pops up, totally fine, laughing about it, and just, like, he knew he did something really cool and really impressive. And I just wanted to call out that is just a really good showing of how athletic and how talented these players are.
For sure.
Where you have, like, split-second decision there and able to catch it, and even though he's falling down, like, people say that, like, they call out Banana Ball and they say, oh, it's just some guys that are dancing and they can't really play baseball. It's like, this is a perfect example of the athleticism of these guys.
I'd love to see the haters do something like that. Seriously.
Agreed.
I want to see you catch a line drive and fall to the ground. I want to see you do all these trick plays.
Yeah, the hate online is really funny when you actually think about it, because they're doing these crazy things that have never happened before, and it's just so impressive. But it's crazy that there's so much backlash.
People just like to hate on things online, no matter what it is.
Yeah,
just let people enjoy something.
Seriously.
You know? Sorry that the sport you like is super boring, baseball fans. We're over here making it better, so.
And then one other one that came up that we talked about at the beginning of the podcast today was in the 8th inning, they call up a golden batter. And all of a sudden, they start to announce it and they say, the world's tallest golden batter. And it's Stilts. They bring in Stilts. They substitute him into the lineup as the golden batter to try to win the inning. There were runners on first and third, 2 outs. And unfortunately, Stilts didn't get a hit there. But it was a really cool moment. It was really fun to see that. I'm excited for it to happen again. One of the reasons why I think they were able to pull that off was they had a 5-run lead.
Yeah, and they weren't worried about it. I think they threw him out there to try to prove me wrong. I went on my little rant a few weeks ago about Stilts' base running. I think they really wanted to rub it in my face there. No, I'm not that important. No, they're not making decisions based on me. I don't actually think that. But, yeah, sorry, Stilts. He just... batting's part of the game. You gotta figure it out.
So I'm gonna call my shot in the tournament at the end of the season. In the 9th inning, they're gonna bring in Stilts as the golden batter, and he's gonna hit the game winner.
That would be insane. I think people say that it's scripted. I think.
Those allegations would go crazy if that happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just a really cool moment there. I'm really hoping that Stilts can have another chance there and get a hit as the golden batter, because that's just a fun moment for everyone.
Yeah, we love Stilts around here. Don't worry. The world's tallest golden batter that has a nice ring to it. Really proud of Stilts for that.
Yeah, and then the last one from game number 2, Jackson Olsen tried a really cool trick play. It didn't work out, but it was really impressive to see the attempt. He caught the ball, drops it on the ground, and then kicks it to Ryan Cox at the second base. It didn't end up working. They didn't get the out, but it was really cool to see the next level evolution of a trick play as it's happening, where we don't see it right away of working, but soon down the line in a couple weeks it's going to work. It's going to go viral on social media, and people are going to be like, wow, they did all this, they just do it perfectly the first time. And it's like, no, these guys they're learning these things.
Yeah.
Like, it's a really cool thing to remember of, like, a lot of these players, they didn't know how to do backflips before they joined the Bananas. They didn't know how to do any of these plays. They taught themselves how to do it. And it's just really impressive to see that level of growth.
Yeah, we hope to see the craziest trick plays ever here. It's crazy to think what's going to happen down the road when everyone's getting better at this. We're going to see some crazy stuff.
Yeah, exciting for sure.
Yeah. So let's go to game 3. There was only, I was a little disappointed in the game. Like I said, I was watching it on my couch and just wondering what in the world was happening. I do want to shout out one thing here. The Savannah Bananas were pitching. They did their 3-2-2 dance, and then out of nowhere, so the 3 players dropped to the ground. Out of nowhere, Superman, Reese Alexiadis, jumps over all 3 with his cape, and then they throw the pitch, and the ball goes straight to where Alexiadis is. And so, remember, Alexiadis is a right fielder, and he ends up on the left side of the infield here with how he jumps across. And he is able to get the ball, do a between the legs, and then throw it and out to first base. It was hilarious to see an outfielder, a right fielder, end up on the left side of the infield and make a trick play there. It was awesome.
Yeah, that was a shocking play for sure.
Yeah.
It was really fun to watch. And then the last one for Game 3, Mike Vivacis, the coach of the Party Animals, he hit a home run, and it's just really cool to see, like, the head coach jumps into the game, scores a run. Like, it's cool that they're playing alongside the players, so I just wanted to call out that one.
Yeah, I've always thought it was funny that the coaches in baseball, the managers, they also wear the uniform.
Yeah.
And so I think it's perfect that in Banana Ball the coach can get out and play, because why not? You're wearing the uniform, you can get out there and play.
And it's the best part because he just pinch hit himself
Yeah.
into the lineup and then goes and hits a home run. So really impressive.
It'd be hilarious if the coach could just sub himself in like that in other sports.
On to our next segment is the top fact of the week. So in the games, if you're watching the live streams, they have a little graphic above the player's name and they have cool facts. So we just wanted to call that out. And this week, mine was from Noah Fisher. So on his, it really got me off guard. It just literally said, would fight a kangaroo. Like, I don't know what this means. Noah Fisher, at some point we'll have to have you on the podcast, and I need to understand, what does that mean? And do you have some background on this? Or like, what's going on here?
You're brave, man. The kangaroos are scary. Have you seen videos of kangaroos punching people? Like,
I think I might have.
Yeah, I would not fight a kangaroo. And those things are tall too. They get on. They stand up. They stretch their back out. My goodness, Australia. Let me just say, Australia is a terrifying place. All of the craziest animals live there. Anyone from Australia that's watching this, good job living there. I'd be terrified. I would be so scared to get out of my house any day because of the types of animals that are out there.
Well, I'm calling it right now. When Banana Ball goes international in Australia, they're going to have a kangaroo as part of Noah Fisher's walk-up. That would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be. All right, my favorite one from this weekend was Dustin Baber. His just said, is not actually a leprechaun.
Wait, what?
I know, I was shocked too. I laughed. It's a little disappointing to find out the truth there. He dances so well, I just thought that he must have been a leprechaun, but
yeah,
I guess our bubble's been burst.
And then our next segment that we like to do each week is the Bananalytics. Now, with the bananaball.com/stats being there, this makes this a lot easier for us. And we actually posted these on social media, and we'll continue to do that weekly to kind of give you the breakdown for 3 of the major categories that we pulled out was home runs, strikeouts, and trick plays. Now, let us know in the comments if you think that there's another category we need to add to our weekly podcast. But starting off with home runs, Coach Rack from the Bananas is in the lead with 5 home runs. Jake Skull's next with 4, and then there's a ton of players tied with 3.
Yeah, and for strikeouts, we kind of talked about this earlier. There were a ton of strikeouts this week, and so it boosted 2 of these guys up the leaderboard.
Yeah.
So Corel Prime is the strikeout leader with 18. Dalton Ponce with 17. Gage Voorhees, he was also another one that had a lot of strikeouts this weekend. He got all the way up to tied for second with 17. And then there's quite a few that are tied with 16.
Yeah, and then finally with the trick plays, Ryan Cox from the Bananas at shortstop is leading with 59. Chase Acuff, shortstop for the Party Animals, in second with 45. DR Meadows, center fielder for the Bananas, is in third with 37. And Dustin Baber, second baseman for the Party Animals, is at 35. Really cool to see the number of trick plays that they're going on with, and it's going to be exciting to see again. Right now, it's kind of back and forth between Ryan and Chase there at shortstop. It seems to be the best spot to get a lot of trick plays. Ryan is clearly the leader. He's really driving the sport forward in the trick plays in particular. But again, when we get to see the firefighters and tailgaters, I'm so excited to see the kind of trick plays they can bring to the table.
Yeah, and I think that we were all pretty shocked that Ryan Cox didn't win the bracket challenge because of, he has this huge lead. I thought for sure, I believed in the Party Animals. You saw the bracket that I made. I actually had Bryson Bloomer winning. I was wrong about that, but I was right about a Party Animal winning. No, I think it's safe to say that Ryan Cox was the favorite, but it just didn't happen. It was kind of a weird series, but he still has a huge lead. Yeah,
it's really impressive to see. And then the last Bananalytic that we wanted to throw in here, Andy Archer this weekend threw a 1 minute and 2 second inning, which is the 7th fastest inning of all time.
It's just insane that there are faster innings than that. 6 faster. Just crazy.
Yeah. But that leads us on to our discussion about next week and our predictions. So we'll go over our predictions from last week and how close we were, and then make our new predictions for next week. But looking ahead, we've got a 2-game weekend at Truist Park, the home of the Atlanta Braves, with 41,000 fans each night.
41,000 fans. Can you believe that? I mean,
that's crazy.
We had 65,000 last week at the NFL stadium, but 41,000 for 2 nights. That's just crazy. The sport is growing. Yeah, I'm kind of just in awe. It's amazing.
Yeah, and I saw a video today, shout out to DR Meadows. He posted that he went to a lot of Braves games growing up, and so he's super excited to go and play on these fields. And that's just so cool for these players to be able to go and play on these MLB stadiums and actually play in football stadiums, like all of these things, but seeing their connection to their hometown stadium and being able to play on there is just a really cool experience.
And honestly, they're playing in front of more fans right now than actual MLB players are playing. I mean, the season hasn't started quite yet, obviously, but, to have a sold-out MLB stadium is huge, especially right now with the trends in baseball. You're only getting that for playoff games, and it means a lot to these players. Yeah,
and I guess I do have a personal story that just came to my head about this. So talking about playing on the field of ones you've grown up with.
Are you going to say that you once played in a sold-out MLB stadium?
Not quite.
Little League All-Star? You were playing?
No, but it was actually in basketball at the Phoenix Suns Stadium. I actually got to go on the court and take a shot, which was pretty cool.
Oh, that is awesome.
So I can't remember the reason why, but basically they invited the kids to come down at the end of it. You got 1 chance for a free throw. I'm pretty bad at basketball. I'm actually the worst of my brothers. But I made the free throw. So
nice.
So that's my claim to fame, is that I've made a shot on the Phoenix Suns arena stadium.
Good job making a free throw. I was at a game. I don't know if I want to go into this. You can cut it out.
That's even better.
I was at a game where they have the the little games at timeouts where fans can go on. So this was the BYU versus University of Arizona game, and 2 University of Arizona fans went down, and they had a free throw shooting contest, and it was the most excruciatingly painful thing to watch, where neither of them could hit a free throw. I think each of them hit 1, so they were tied at 1.
Yeah.
And then they're like, all right, let's just see next one to make it wins. And they just kept missing. And eventually, like, no one was making anything. And the commercial was over. They had to get the players back on the field, or on the court to play, and no one could hit a free throw. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is so bad. I feel so bad for them. Yeah.
And that probably would have been me 99% of the time. I got so lucky, but it was, that's really funny to see. Those in-game promotions are hilarious, but that's one of the things about Banana Ball that I love, is that we actually get to see those because there's no commercial breaks.
Yeah, that's true. At that same game, the halftime show was a Simon Says competition, and I was like, this is going to be so dumb, but it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. It's like the host was like a professional Simon Says ref, and he was like doing all these things to get people out, and it was hilarious. But the Banana Ball, stuff that you get to see while watching it, that stuff's hilarious too. My personal favorite is the one we saw the first time we were there. I think they've done it a few times. Pick your favorite parent. That
one's funny.
The little kid has to run and pick their favorite parent. Anyway. We're off the rails again.
Which is perfect, because if you're here at this part of the podcast, you get to hear the cool stories, you get to hear all the fun stuff.
Yeah, we're really rewarding you now, because I am so exhausted, and I don't know even what I'm saying at this point. So, yeah, good job. You've made it all the way here. We're not done yet. Yeah.
We got our predictions coming up right now. So last week we predicted the series. So 3-game series, we made that prediction. Sammy predicted a Party Animals sweep, and I predicted that the Party Animals would win 2-1. I am so glad that the Bananas proved me wrong. I was off again, but a little bit closer than Sammy.
Yeah, I was really wrong. I mean, technically just 2 games off, but oh man, those games were rough.
And then the total trick plays. So I have a funny story about this when I was watching the game live. So I guessed 29 trick plays and Sammy guessed 30.
Which we nailed that, by
We
the way.
nailed it.
Yeah.
So the interesting thing is, when the game ended, they showed the graphic on there, and it said 29. And I was so excited. I was like, I beat Sammy. I got a prediction. And then all of a sudden, I see, like, a little bit later, the title change, and it said, like, best trick play game ever, 30 trick plays. And I was like, really? Of course it was right on what Sammy said. And then it updated again to be 31. So I think they were reviewing some of the plays. I was this close to being right on the money with their prediction. But Sammy took that one home. So game 1, 31, game 2, 13, game 3, 28. So really good showing there, and congratulations for that one.
Thank you. 31. That was awesome. I think we were right. We weren't expecting the bracket challenge thing.
That was a really good guess to do that prediction.
Yeah, exactly. So that I was mainly just making that prediction because they were back in Grayson Stadium and they had the feel for the field and everything, but that bracket really helped. So we got a little lucky there.
So this time we wanted to do a little bit of a different prediction, and we were trying to think of a fun one to do, and we're going to guess how many showdowns we think there are going to be this weekend. So 2 games, so the guess is either 0, 1, or 2 for the number of showdowns we think there's going to be.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with 1. And the Party Animals are going to win it with a Drew Gillespie walk-off strikeout. I mean, yeah, that would be a walk-off strikeout.
Showdown shutdown.
Yeah, that's my guess.
That's a really good guess.
Yeah, I hope that there's at least 1, because 41,000 fans deserve to see the best overtime in sports.
Yeah, I feel like I'm going to have to go with 2. I feel like it's not super probable, but I'm going to go for the thing that would be best for the fans. So I'm going to guess for a two showdown series.
Awesome. I'd be totally fine with that. Showdowns are super fun.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us for this podcast today. We do these podcasts weekly, every Wednesday for the Banana Breakdown, breaking down all things Banana Ball. Really excited to see where things go in the rest of the 2025 World Tour. But we really appreciate you being here.
Yeah, good job getting all the way to the end of this this episode. We really appreciate it. We love seeing all the comments, and we love interacting with everyone. Honestly, we feel really grateful for the people that watch. It's kind of crazy. We weren't expecting, this. I don't know what we were expecting. I obviously wanted people to watch, but it's been really cool to see. And yeah, so thank you for that. Keep interacting with us on social media everywhere there, and go party animals.
9 weeks away, go firefighters.